Okay, my Blender artist, so you're bored of lockdown, you're looking for a new skill to enhance your repertoire? How about lightsabers? Yeah, it feeds the kid in all of us. So this quick tutorial will show you how to get your own lightsaber. Okay, so clearly the very first thing you need is your actual lightsaber. So take a piece of your holiest force wood, here is mine, and then mark it at regular intervals with black pen or tape or something just to make it easy for you to visually check where the stick is as you twirl it and whirl it with relish. Once you've done that, got your stick made up, you need to find a loved one who you can bear them filming you without bursting into laughter as you pretend to be a Jedi warrior in the privacy of your kitchen or your bedroom or your hall. So here's me in all my glory. I've got my stick and I start twirling. Okay, so you've taken your video footage, you budding Jedi warriors, and it's time to open up Blender. So we'll start with the default scene. This is Blender 2.8.1 or 281, so you can use anything of 2.8 or above. The first thing I want you to do is go to View, and I want you to go to, so press F1 to go to the front view, then click on View, and then Align View, and then do Active Camera to View. Okay, perfect. The next thing I want you to do is I want you to add mesh plane. We're going to call this lightsaber. We can't see it at the moment because it's lying in flat, so we're going to press R to rotate it. We're going to press X to rotate it about the X-axis, and we're going to press 90. We're going to use S to scale that in. Then we're going to do scale Y, scale Z, make it a little bit thinner. Okay, scale that down so it looks a little bit long and thin. Okay, perfect. Maybe scale on the X a little bit. Doesn't really matter at this stage. We're going to sort that out, the actual sizes, in a minute. So this is going to be our lightsaber. I want you to click on Materials. I want you to click New. We'll call this material Lightsaber also. Instead of a principled shader, click here where it says Surface and make this an emission surface. Let's say that we want to go to a green lightsaber. We'll have a nice green lightsaber. Nothing seems to happen. So we go up to the top, and in the viewport shading mode, I want you to click on Rendered. So you can see now that we have a green material. It doesn't seem to glow very much, which isn't very nice, but if we increase the strength of this, you should be able to see that we get some glow. Hold on, let's go to View, Camera's Active Camera. Still not particularly impressive. And I know why, because even though we've got the strength up, we haven't gone here in the output properties. We need to enable bloom. There we go, much better. So now we have a nice glowing lightsaber type material. So we're not quite halfway there, but we're making a good start. Okay, so go up to View, Camera's Active Camera again. What I want you to do is I want you to let's do that. Good, much better. I want you to press Add and Mesh and Plane again, and we're going to call this Footage. Press R, X, and then 90. And then I want you to scale this footage so it fits. There we go. Let's scale it down in the Z direction. Okay, scale it so it fits inside the camera view. We're going to do Object and Apply Rotation and Scale. And we're going to make this our footage. So to do that, we are going to apply another material, an emission material. So you go down to Material and you click New. We'll call this Footage. We're going to make this an emission shader. And we are going to, instead of a color, we're going to click on Image Texture. And we are going to open our original footage.
So the footage that we took of you waving your stick. Okay, so there we are. What we're going to do here is that we are going to go instead of repeat, we're going to go to clip, and we are going to click cyclic. We're going to do auto refresh. We're going to give it plenty of frames. So I happen to know that my footage is 821 frames long. Doesn't really matter if you've got as long as you've got an extra, you've got more frames in that box and your footage is long, that you'll be okay. And then crucially down here for vector, or for the vector here, we're going to use window. Okay, now if you press play here, you should see that your footage will start playing in the camera window. Obviously you can see here that the camera window is not quite, the footage is not quite big enough, so we are going to press S to scale it again. We're going to scale it up till it fills completely the camera window. We're going to go to object and apply rotation and scale. Press play again. Excellent. So you can see now that we've got the footage running in our camera window. Don't worry for the moment that it's off to one side. We can sort out orientation later on. So what I want you to do first is I want you to pause this. If you see at the bottom right hand side of the screen, it has the start frame and the end frame of our footage, or our eventual movie. I happen to know that my footage is 821 frames long, so let's put that in firstly. And then I want you to scroll backwards and forwards using the scroller here to decide where you want the start point of your the movie. I decided that I would start mine around about 329, frame 329. So let's put this here. The reason I chose that is because this is the point where my lightsaber effectively starts to appear. Okay, so decide your start and finish point of your footage. Put those in the bottom right hand side of the screen here, and we are good to go. Okay, so we've got the footage in. The lightsaber seems to have disappeared. So if you click on the lightsaber and then you just use your middle mouse button to move around here, what we're going to do is with the lightsaber selected, I want you to, so make sure you've got the lightsaber selected, press G, and then we'll move that a little bit towards the camera, which is, I guess, the Y direction. Yeah, the Y direction. Just for the sake of being tidy, I'm going to make sure that the G, that it's pretty much on top of the footage. But okay, so you can see there, that's where we have the lightsaber. And then I want you to go back to view and cameras and active camera. Okay, so now we can see the lightsaber. So we're going to do a couple of things now. Firstly, we're going to make sure that we can't select this footage plane, because as we start animating our lightsaber, we don't want to accidentally select this footage plane and move it. So with the footage plane selected, I want you to go up to the filter box here, and I want you to activate this little arrow. This tells you, or tells Blender, whether or not this should be a selectable object. So you can see now for footage, we want to disenable that or disable that. So we cannot now select the footage and we can't move it by accident. So that's good, first of all. The next thing is with the actual lightsaber, energized, I want us to turn the strength of that down at the moment. Let's just turn it down to something like that so we can work with it a little bit more easily. And then select it. Press tab to enter the edit mode. What I want you to do is click this first vertex. If you find you're not in vertex select mode, then just simply activate vertex select mode using this button here. So click on this first vertex, press F3, and I want you to type in lock. It's not lock, is it? It's hook. So hook to new object, do that, and then click on each of the other successive vertices in turn and do Shift R to repeat the last action. And what you'll see now is that we have a series of 4 empties, 1 empty to each corner. So I want you to click on the first empty, tab out, tab out of edit mode, so you're now back in object mode, and I want you to click on the first empty, scale it down so the handles don't overlap, or at least not too much. Click on the second empty, scale that down so the handles don't overlap. Do this for all 4 empties, makes it a little bit easier for us to work with them. Whoops, a daisy. Okay, good. What I want to do now is click on the lightsaber and make that non-selectable. So what that means now is if we go back into the camera view, that we can select any of these empties and we can move them around by pressing G. But we are not going to be moving the footage, and we're not actually moving the lightsaber. We're only moving the empties, and because the lightsaber is hooked to the empties, it follows it around. Okay, so if you remember, we decided that we would start our footage at 329. So I'm going to type in 329 for the start, and let's just make sure that we get that working. Okay, so 329, this is frame 329. You can see that the lightsaber is not visible. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to click auto keyframe down here. We're going to use B to select our whole lightsaber, and we're just going to move it off camera over there somewhere. So we're then going to use this little arrow here to advance the frames until we start to see the lightsaber, or where we want the lightsaber to appear. So you can see for me, it appears there first of all. Okay, so this is the point where we now select our lightsaber, our empties. Whoops. Select our lightsaber empties here. We move it onto the screen, and this is where the boring part begins. What you want to do is you want to position each corner over the lightsaber. It can be done quite roughly at this time, but don't do it too roughly because you'll only end up going back and having to do it a second time. So that is the first keyframe of our lightsaber, and instead of now keyframing or doing the animation for each individual cycle, what I suggest is that you go forward 10 frames and then you do it again. So here, and the idea is that you position your lightsaber polygon so it will completely cover the stick that you used your original footage with. And just so you can see what sort of effect, if you go to here, oops, I've selected the wrong one. If you go to the lightsaber and we turn up the strength, you can see this is how it would work. Okay, let me turn down the strength of that empty. Okay, so what I want you to do now is I simply want you to go through the whole footage every 10 frames. So let's do another one for you at 91 so you can just see. Every 10 frames, I want you to change the position of the lightsaber so it covers the stick. Now, if you've got a problem with the strength of the material, then I would suggest that you can just dial the lightsaber strength back. Let's put that down to 1. We've probably created a keyframe for that now that we'll need to deal with later on. Anyway, here we go. So every 10 frames, please. I think we'll find that here, this actually is meant to be going up here as well. So go through the whole footage doing this for every 10 frames, and then I'll see you when that task is completed. Okay, so you've done that now, and you've keyframed every 5 or 10 frames. So let's just have a look at the footage now. Press play. And what you should find is that the green lightsaber bar tracks the stick of the original footage fairly crudely. It's not exact yet, but it's not too bad. So what you want to do now is pause the animation and then just scribe backwards and forwards till you find a point of difference between the stick and the lightsaber. And what you want to do is that you want to scroll backwards and forwards about that point until you find the place of maximum deviation, which is something like that, and then you correct the keyframing at that point. So that's what you need to do now, is go through your footage again, find the points of maximum deviation between what the green lightsaber is doing and what the original footage was doing, and then correct it at that point. So give you another example. Let's keep going down here. Let's look for a point where we get a big deviation. Okay, there's something there. So let's just go backwards and forwards to find the point at where the deviation is at its biggest. So it's probably around about there, and we will correct that. Okay, so let's move that back. Okay, that's not bad. There's a little bit here where you can find the stick shoots out of the bottom. Okay, that's not too bad. That's created that a little bit. There's a little bit here again where it sticks out, the stick shoots out there at the bottom. So we'll fix that. So do that now, go through your footage, finding the points of biggest deviation, even things here. If you look here, you can see where the stick just pokes out a little bit. So again, find out the point where it's most displaced, probably about there. Use G and then scale if you need to. G again. To see if that's fixed that. Yeah, that's pretty good. So go through your whole footage now, just fine-tuning those sorts of areas. And then when you've done that, I'll see you here back in Blender. Okay? Okay, so hopefully you will have now done your second round of adjustment, and let's just check how that is. So this is mine. I'm actually pretty happy with it. There's no obvious areas where the green lightsaber is not covering the wooden stick. And bear in mind, obviously, that when you turn the glow up, any little edges that you might see of the stick behind the lightsaber, like, oh, hold on a minute, look, right at the end there. Right at the end there was one I need to fix. So before I get too carried away, there, perfect. So let's just take those, let's put that there. Let's just check where, oh, and there's another one. Just goes to show, just when you think that you've got it done, it kind of shows you that you're not right. So let's just check that last bit. Yeah, okay, so that's pretty good. Oh, right at the end again, there was a little tiny bit of stick that was showing. There we go. Let's move that. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. So what we're going to do now, we're going to choose our final lightsaber color. If by the way there are still some areas where your stick is not covered by the lightsaber, just fine tune that in the same way. Go to those areas where you've got problems using the scriber, using the scrubber here, the frame scrubber at the bottom, and then just modify your modify the positions of your empties to cover. So let's say here, if I was a little bit unhappy about this little tiny piece being here, I can just put that in there. Okay, righty ho. So we're going to just make sure that we've got the lightsaber color something that we're happy with. So get yourselves to the point where we are. Hold on. I've just changed the starting point of my decide. I was going to go, yeah, 329. Okay, so let's go here. So let's get ourselves to the point. Let's advance the movie to somewhere where we've got the lightsaber in full screen. So let's say here. and let's just make sure that we're happy with the material. So we need to go back up here, and lightsaber, we need to enable select. We need to select the lightsaber. We need to turn up the glow a little bit. Too much there, I think. Let's try a glow of 20. Let's see. I'm not so happy about the green either. Let's take it down to a glow of 10. I think I'd prefer to go for a red, a dark red, something like that. Maybe a lighter red. Let's see. Something a bit like that. Okay, let's turn up the glow a little bit again. Let's go for a bit of a darker red. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, okay, I quite like that. And let's go back to the beginning. Make sure you're happy with your lightsaber. Let's zoom in. As I say, don't worry about the screen being on its side at the moment, and press play. Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. I think the reds are better than the red's better than the green, but you can put whatever color if you want. And also bear in mind that in Blender you can animate colors, so you could change the color of the lightsaber throughout the movie footage. Okay, so let's stop that animation, and it's time to render out. So go back to the beginning of your footage. Make sure that your start and your finish frame are what you expected. So 329 for me, and ending in 821. We go up to here. We check that we've got bloom enabled. We check the output. You'll see that I'm actually rendering at a higher resolution than my original footage, but the aspect ratio is the same, so that's critical. Starting at 329, ending at 821. Frame rate. Now you remember the frame rate, we checked the frame rate was 30 frames per second, so we need to do that. Change it to whatever the frame rate is of your original footage, and then decide on your output directory. For me, I'm going to put it in Blender Lightsaber. I'm going to put it here, accept, and then you're ready to go. So now do render animation. And it's going to take a few minutes, depending on how fast your computer is. And you'll see that mine's ticking along quite nicely. And so wait till that's finished, and then I will come back and see you in a few minutes. Your rendering has finished, and you're ready to look at the final result. Now, I had a bit of a surprise when I looked at my output tab. You will see that I had forgotten to change my render output settings from PNG to MPEG. So you will see that I've got every single frame of my footage is now rendered out as a separate image, but no problem. We can fix that also in Blender. If you didn't forget to do that, and down here you actually clicked on video as the output, then no problem, you're already laughing. But if not, like me, you made the mistake, then what we're going to do now is go into video sequencer, and we are going to click on add and image sequence. We'll go to where we saved out our render results. So if it's like me, we've got 329 is the first frame. We're all the way down to 821. Add image strip. Now we're going to make sure we click the output and make it a video. We'll leave our output folder as the same as before, and we will click simply render animation. And now you should find that this renders a lot quicker, and in about 2 or 3 minutes you should be able to see the finished result. So I'll come back when that render has finished. Folks, I'm in VLC Media Player to show you the final result. I mentioned to you about rotating the video. I've just done that in VLC. It's very easy to do, plenty of instructions on the web as how to do that. So not really the subject of a Blender tutorial, but here goes. Let's see how it turned out. Okay, so hey, there you go. So we have, as promised, I've delivered a lightsaber. The quick and dirty way of doing it. There are actually much more sophisticated ways of doing it with a camera tracking, which we will be doing in an upcoming tutorial. But in the meantime, thanks very much for watching. Have fun and look forward to my next tutorial.
Well, thank you for watching, and in keeping with my Jedi themed or Star Wars themed quick tutorials during lockdown, I thought you might be interested to see the Jedi lightning tutorial, which is likely to be the next one. So you'll be able to generate and shoot lightning from your fingertips, and maybe some camera tracking as well, showing the Tesla coil mounted on your desk. So if you're interested, come back and to this channel and see those tutorials shortly.